The window's been open for a while now. There's been a lot of interesting signings done, good and bad. So I thought I'd do a tier list and rank them best to worst. There's been 52 proper signings. There's been some like teenage and stuff. I didn't really see the point in putting them in. So yeah, from 18 Premier League clubs, Brighton haven't really signed a senior player yet, and Leicester haven't bought anyone. But these are the 18, and yeah, rank them best for worst. Obviously, top 5 signings up at the top. Very good signings will be something that could have been in top 5 but just miss out. Then obviously good, meh, and poor. So yeah, let's get into it. Gabrielle Jesus, I think, is an easy, pretty top 5. He fits every need Arsenal need in a striker. Obviously, that was their number one priority. They got him in first. I think 45 million euros is a pretty good fee. Harms a rival a little bit. I guess you can maybe make that argument. Had a prior relationship with the manager. He's positionally versatile. Should know the system. There's literally no downsides to that signing. It's pretty perfect. James Tarkowski, I'm going to put him meh. I've got nothing against James Tarkowski. I think Burnley, the system they played, always held him back. I remember at Brentford, he was always pretty good on the ball, but he's never really shown that at Burnley. But it's big money. It's a bit boring. I've got nothing against James Tarkowski. He's fine, but will it change anything? Will it like keep Everton up? Not really. This just feels like a signing that will get Everton to Bramley-Moore Dock. It's fine, but there's nothing spectacular about it. Darwin Nunez, maybe a bit bold, but I'm going to put it in good. Now, I'm not saying Darwin Nunez will be bad. I actually think he'll probably do quite well. But ultimately, 80 million euros, it's very hard for that transfer to be so good it's going to be in the top 5 with all the other good value in the league. Look, Darwin Nunez is probably one of the best players on this list, but it's about the transfer as a whole. I think it's good. I think if Liverpool paid maybe 60 million, it'd be there. And if Liverpool paid maybe like 40 million, it'd be there. But ultimately, it's a very inflated fee. So right now, judging the transfer and the fact he's replacing Sadio Mane, for me, I can only really put it in good. Hwang, obviously, my club Wolves bought him permanently. For me, this is just a really poor decision. I think every Wolves fan knows it. 15 million quid on a guy that, apart from a couple of good games at the start of the season, barely contributed anything. Yeah, it's just a bad signing. I think I don't get why we've done it, but whatever. And the player Wolves could have signed, João Palhinha, I think is a very good signing for Fulham. Buying a player, obviously one of the best players in Portugal for the last few years now, but that's not a guarantee that he's going to be great in the Premier League for a top 6 club or a top 10 club, but that's not what Fulham need. The odds of one of the best players in Portugal being bad for Fulham, I think, is very unlikely. He solves a problem they need. That defence needs screening, so it hasn't really been improved that much yet. He's a player that probably could have got a top 10 move, and he's at Fulham for 17 million quid. Even if he's bad, they'll probably be able to resell him. So for me, that's a good signing. Let's get Bournemouth out the way. Ryan Fredericks, that I just don't see the point. He's old, no resale value. His underlying numbers are terrible. Even if they get relegated, he won't contribute to them in the Championship. I just find it bizarre. And just don't see the point. Joe Rothwell, same. Don't really think he's probably Premier League level, but if they get relegated, he'll be one of the best players in the Championship, so it's fine. Diego Carlos, this probably get a lot of criticism, but I think this is a really meh signing. I did a video on this and it annoyed people, but obviously the fee's not as high as it was originally. Like it looked like it was going to be 50 million, but it's around 30. But Diego Carlos is one of those players. He's really good on FIFA, but he's not actually that good, in my opinion. He doesn't really pop in any metrics. He's 29, and spending 30 million euros on a 29-year-old centre back seems a bit odd. Like Villa are a big club with a lot of money and a lot of pulling power, and a manager in Gerrard that has really good connections. And the fact that the best centre back they could get for that money is Diego Carlos is bizarre to me. When you especially look at Kamara and Coutinho, which are both amazing signings that I don't know how they've pulled off. It's just a bit bizarre, but Kamara's brilliant. There's probably a shout for it being in top 5, but his form did drop off a bit last year. It's probably why he's at Villa, but there's a player there. Villa have needed a defensive midfielder for God knows how long. I've got nothing against Douglas Luiz, but for me, he's not a number 6. And obviously Coutinho's great. He proved that last season. Aaron Hickey, again, maybe a bit of a controversial one. I don't really rate Aaron Hickey that highly. Obviously, he's still very young, and I trust Brentford's recruitment. But for me, like if you look at Aaron Hickey's underlying numbers, they're not actually very good in any metric. He's still very young. He's played on both sides. I'm sure he'll be fine. But for me, that's for the price, 22 million quid. That's a massive overpayment, in my opinion. Czech Toure for me is easily top 5 signs of the window. He's a guy for me could have gone to most top half Premier League clubs, and that's not what Palace are. And for me, I know he's a very different type of player to Conor Gallagher, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I thought Conor Gallagher was very limited. He did a role well, but also if Palace want to push into the top half, there needs to be a more functional side and not reliant on one guy just scoring goals. Czech Toure will solidify that midfield. He'll be brilliant. I'd be stunned if he was a flop. I think he'll be the next Yves Bissouma, N'Golo Conte type of guy who everyone goes, wow, we should have picked that guy out of Liga. Tyrell Malacia at Man United, I think it's fine. You know, like, look, Malacia clearly is an okay left back. I think it's a bit, I don't really know much about him, to be honest. I think it's a bit concerned that no other big club is linked with him. But the fee's pretty low. It's fine. Is he an upgrade on Alex Telles? At least immediately, no. But there's resale value there, even if it works out. But for me, it's just a bit boring. Sven Botman, obviously a great signing. I think overpayment a little bit. I think it was about 37 million euros in the end. I think that's a bit of an overpayment, especially he had a little bit of a down season last year compared to the year before. But good age, will fit the system. Left-footed, centre-back's a rare find. Probably could have aimed higher, obviously with Milan's interest. It's just a good sign. It's just a Newcastle doing sensible stuff that I didn't think they would do. Callum Phillips, I think he's just a fine signing. Is he going to start? No. Could he have gone to another big club and maybe started more? Yes. But ultimately, he'll win a lot of stuff. The fee's reasonable. I thought it would have taken 70, 80 to get him out of Leeds, and it hasn't. He'll be an upgrade on 38-year-old Fernandinho. Will he be an upgrade on Fernandinho in his prime? Definitely not. But Fernandinho now, clear upgrade. Fabio Vieira, again, I'm a bit meh on this. Like, Fabio Vieira clearly has potential, but ultimately this is a guy that Arsenal need a lot of players for me. They need 2 fullbacks, 2 midfielders, probably a winger, and obviously a striker in Gabrielle Jesus. And, you know, maybe at the end of the window, if Arsenal get all that stuff, then I'll put it there. But right now, 35 million euros on a guy that's not even a first teamer at Porto yet, I'm not convinced personally, but you know, we'll see. Sam Johnston, fine. He's just a perfectly competent Premier League goalkeeper. Gaeta's old, and he'll come in and be fine. Same for Shkosha. I think that's a good pickup for Brentford. You know, it looks like David Raya might leave. You know, Shkosha's had a couple of down years, but before that, he looked like one of Europe's best young goalkeepers. So for me, that's worth taking a punt. Definitely an upgrade on Jonas Lörsel. Raheem Sterling, obviously, very good pickup for the price. You know, Raheem Sterling's one of those guys that just constantly gets criticism for no reason. He's an elite forward. And I still think Thomas Tuchel holds back a lot of Chelsea's forwards. I don't think it's all on their forwards that they have. I don't think Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Werner, all these guys are as bad as they look. But ultimately, Sterling's a clear upgrade, and that makes it a very good signing for the price. Fabio Carvalho, nice little pickup for Liverpool. Again, even if Fabio Carvalho is terrible, I know Liverpool probably get double the value they paid for him anyway. So I can't really put it any lower than very good. I think he'll contribute pretty well. And if he doesn't, they'll make their money back anyway. It's worth a punt. I don't really see any downsides to it. I see some of Forest. Moussa Niakate for me is in that top 5. You know, from what Nottingham Forest obviously needed a centre-back to play with McKenna and Worrell. And, you know, Niakate has no obvious weaknesses apart from the fact he's never really played in the back 4, but Forest don't play a back 4, so who cares? Really physical, good passer, decent ball carrier, had good defensive numbers. He's captain of Mainz, he's got leadership qualities. Only 10 million euros. A lot of better Premier League clubs should have gone for Niakate. It's a great pickup. Nathan Collins, obviously my club Wolves bought him. I think that's a pretty solid transfer. The only reason I'm not putting it higher is just because he's barely played Premier League football. But in what I saw of him at Burnley, obviously his numbers just profile like any other Burnley centre back, but the reviews are good. But I can't put him any higher because he's barely played, and we need to see him outside of a restrictive Burnley system. But I think there's enough there to suggest that will be a decent signing. Obviously Erling Haaland goes top 5. It's pretty obvious. I think you see some people slagging off that signing, but it's a lot of clutching at straws. I just don't see any downside to that. Even if he gets injured quite a bit, who cares? Aguero got injured loads. Man City have loads of cover. I rate Julian Alvarez as well. There's nothing wrong with that signing for the fee, especially. Even if the add-ons are there, he'll be great. Basuma, I'm going to put it in just very good. I don't know. Actually, I'll put him in top 5 for now. My only concern is, will he actually start over Højbjerg and Bentancur? I know obviously Tottenham are going to play loads of games, so it doesn't matter. I'm not sure he will be an instant starter. I'm not sure. But he's a great sign anyway. He'll definitely be in that top 5, probably. Richarlison is a good pickup. If Richarlison was a 25, 30 million pound pickup, he'd be there. If it was like 35 to 40 million, he'd be there. But also, we went 60 mil with all the add-ons. You can't put it any higher than that right now, unless Richarlison turns supernova and is incredible. If he's the Everton player, just a bit better, for 60 million, it can only really be there, in my opinion. But I like the player. Clemon Longley, again, I'm putting good, purely because there's no option to buy. You know, if he's terrible, then obviously it's just a mess signing anyway. And if he's good, then there's no option to buy, so they'll probably get hamstrung by Barca. But I think Clemon Longley's a better player than people have given him credit for. He's fine. He'll do well at Tottenham, I assume. Keane Lewis-Potter is a pretty good pickup for Brentford. You know, he looks good in the Championship. The fee's a little bit over the top, but I trust Brentford's recruitment generally, and I'd trust that one more than Aaron Hickey, personally. Let's do some of Leeds' ones. Brennan Aronson, not 100% convinced on him, to be honest, yet. Leeds have taken a lot of punts on guys that have never played in Europe, or when they have played in Europe have been very injury prone. I don't mind doing that, but when all of your signings are in that mould, it's a bit of a concern. If none of them bang next season, they could be in a relegation battle. But if all the signings do pop off, they could genuinely push for like 8th or 9th, you know. But Brennan Aaronson's fine. Same with Rasmus Christensen. Can't say I know much about him. Mark Rocker, however, I think is a very good signing if he can stay fit. I'll put him in good just purely because of his injury record. But if he wasn't injured a lot, you know, at Espanyol, he looked like he'd be one of Europe's best young midfielders, and 2 years later he's playing for Leeds. If obviously the concern with Leeds is half their squad's injury prone, do you really want to buy another one? But for the price they got him for, is it what, like 8 million quid? That's worth a punt, even if he doesn't work out. Tayo Aranyi at Nottingham Forest, I think that's a brilliant signing. You know, got about 17 goals last season in the Bully for a pretty defensive Union Berlin side. I know they finished 5th and they're obviously a decent side, but it's not like he got loads of creativity, pretty good ball carrier, really physically dominant. I think him, Brennan Aronson, looks like a pretty good front two. And if they can shore that midfield up, because that looks light right now, I think Nottingham Forest got a pretty good chance of staying up. Same with Nico Williams. I think Nico Williams is a great pickup. I don't really see any obvious downside. He's really young. If they get relegated, they'll probably stay with him in the Championship, or they can flog him. His numbers in the Championship were kind of better than Jed Spence's, to be honest. I saw a comparison on, I think it was StatsBomb. So, I don't know. I just think I don't really see that as much of a sidestep. Same with Omar Richards. I put Omar Richards a bit lower purely because he hasn't really played a lot. Obviously, when he has played for Bayern Munich, his numbers are jacked, but there's no guarantee that will carry over to Premier League or when he's playing more in a less ball-dominant side. But again, for the price they got him for, it's worth a punt. He'll stay with them in the Championship. Nottingham Forest are doing clever signings. They're all pretty low value. They're all players that will stay with them in the Championship. Or if they have a really good season, they can flog for triple the money. I just think Nottingham Forest are going about this window really well. Dean Henderson, again, just good signing. You know, I think they've actually, Bryce Sandbury leaving in the end actually helped them in a weird way. They've actually got an upgrade, and they've got some money for for Bryce Sandbury and brought in Dean Henderson on loan. And I think Man United are paying some of his wages as well. It's just a dub of a signing. Joe Rebo, I think, is fine. I'm going to put him actually for the price. It's a good signing. I think they got him for 7 million quid. I don't rate Joe Rebo as highly as some other people, which I think is ultimately why he's at Southampton, right? But always had really good defensive numbers. He kind of fits a Haas and Ozil system. It's nice to see him getting backed. And Southampton just need bodies who are competent, and Joe Rebo is that. Bellica Chap, I'm a bit more positive on. I'm not going to put him in very good yet. My only concern with Southampton, they brought a lot of young players to solidify that defence. And if they all pop off, great. But they could have a back five next season where they're all under 23. I think Carl Walker-Peters is actually 24. But, you know, Carl Walker-Peters, Livramento, Bazunu, Salisu and Bellica Chap, that's a very young defence. That concerns me a little bit. I'll put Bazunu in as well. Just a very good goalkeeper and prospect. Nayef Egwed, I think West Ham overpaid a little bit, to be honest. I think the final fee was about 27 million euros, but he is a good centre-back. He'll suit West Ham. He's a big upgrade on the ball, and his defensive numbers are the same as most of their centre-backs. So, and ultimately, is he an upgrade on Craig Dawson? Yes. Is he an upgrade on, what's his name? Issa Diop? Yes. Who they might even get that money from Fulham anyway. So, yeah, that's a dub of a signing. Andres Pereira is a weird one. Because when they signed him originally, I was kind of behind it a bit. But I'm a bit more sceptical now. Especially, I don't think when I first saw that thing, I realised how, I guess, Fabio Carvalho isn't there anymore, if you know what I mean. Like, Andres Pereira will probably be Fabio Carvalho's replacement. That's a big risk. But the fees are low, and I don't mind Andres Pereira. He had some good loan spells in La Liga. He actually played quite well for Lazio when he got the chance, but, you know, when you compete with Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto, you're not going to start. I kind of want to put it in poor, but the fee's quite low. I don't know. I'm not sure about Andres Pereira, to be honest. Flynn Downs is a bit meh. Like, his numbers were fine in the Championship, but they weren't particularly great. I think they paid like 10 mil for him. Obviously, at worst, they can just sell him back to the Championship for half their money, or he can just be an okay squad player. But it does remind me a bit of Jordan Hugill. Just me? I don't know. Matt Targett, again, fine. He was all right for them last season. Is it like spectacular? No. Is he in any way competent going forward? No. But he's an all right defender. He carries the ball okay. He'll just be a solid, if not, you know, he'll just be fine. Areola and Nick Pope both going good. You know, both those clubs have good goalkeepers at the club in Fabianski and Dubravka. Ultimately, both of them are old. They need upgrades. And they're both there as succession plans. it's just good signings. Same with Ortega. I think Ortega's actually a bit. You know what? Ortega actually goes in very good for me. You know, Man City have got rid of Zach Steffen, who always looks a bit shaky, and they've got the Bundesliga's best goalkeeper last season in Ortega as a backup, and he's really good on the ball, and he's an elite shot stopper. If you were just looking purely at numbers, you'd put him over Ederson last season. You genuinely would. Luis Silistera, I like it. My only concern is it's replacing Rafinha, which is a big risk. If that doesn't work and you're relying on Dan James, Rodrigo and Bamford again, but I like Silistera. His numbers are good. He's a good age. That one feels, out of all of Leeds' gambles, the one that I trust to work most. So I think that's a good signing. Tyler Adams, I'm not as hot as Tyler Adams as the first four. His numbers dropped off a lot last season. I think the Rocker signing makes it a bit better because ultimately, you know, you're replacing Adam Forshaw and Matthias Klick, which was Leeds' most used midfield too last season, and you're replacing it with Mark Rocker and Tyler Adams. Ultimately, it's an upgrade, but I'm not big on Tyler Adams as much as Mark Rocker. I think they overpaid a little bit for him, to be honest. Ivan Perisic thinks a really good pickup on a free. I know it's 150 grand a week, but Tottenham can eat those wages. He's a Conte guy. He can cover both wing back positions and I guess left wing. It's just a sensible squad filler. Conte likes a small squad with his guys, and Perisic is that. Augustinsson, I think, is pretty. I just don't get why Villa are doing that. They're giving Ashley Young a new contract. I know they needed fullback depth, but his numbers were terrible last season. They've never really been that good. I know it's on loan, but if Lucas Digne gets injured, would I trust him to play a full season? No. And then finally, this is Biancone, Nottingham Forest's new fullback. Again, I'm not really convinced. I really like Nottingham Forest's business this year. I think they've got really good fees for everyone they bought, apart from him. I just don't see it. I looked at his numbers a few hours ago. They're just not great for a fullback. Maybe if they're planning to play him centre back, I'd be a bit more hot on it. But if he's like the backup to Omar Richards and Nico Williams, not convincing the slightest. His numbers just aren't great. And look, if they got him on loan or for like a low fee, I wouldn't have an issue with it as a squad filler. But £9 million quid's a lot to a club like Forest. They could have bought that on a midfielder. I'm just not convinced by his numbers personally. But yeah, that's my tier list of signings from best to worst. I think that top five. I'm tempted to put Kamara in there instead of Basuma, but I think I'm going to stick with it for now. I'm going to go Gabby Jesus as the best signing, and I'm going to go Fredericks as worst. So I just think that's a terrible signing. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment who you think should be in different tier lists. I'll actually read comments this time. Yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Yeah, peace.